For every colonial power that has held the privileged global reserve currency status in the world, there's been a rise and there's been a fall. This trend has gone on without exception for over 500 years. You can see that toward the end of every individual era of global reserve currency, the global power who held the currency experiences war toward the end of their reign. Today, we're going to talk about what life was like for those countries after they lost their global reserve currency status, and how life changed after it was lost. And most of the time, it was for the worst. Let's get it. BitSwap is the hottest new way to trade tokens. Crawling all the top decentralized exchanges, BitSwap gets you the very best price and value for your trades. BitSwap is changing the game. Try it now at bitswapdex.io. Welcome to BitBoy Crypto. My name is Ben. Every day on this channel, I show you how to make money in cryptocurrency. If you like money in crypto, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you want even more crypto and money fun, check out our TikTok account at BitBoy Crypto. In today's video, we are going to talk about what happens to a global reserve currency once it starts to become debased. How does that country look after that? How does a government spend money and handle assets when they smell that an end is near? Let's start by taking a look at the same chart we briefly touched at the beginning of the first video in the series. By the way, if you haven't already done so, check out video number 1, part of the Global Reserve Currency Wars, with this link. So what does the end of a global reserve currency status look like? For the Dutch, it was the Anglo-Dutch Wars. For the French, it was the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars. And for the United Kingdom, it was the decline of the British East India Company, World War I, the Great Depression, World War II, and the rise of Mr. Bean. It's no coincidence that each global reserve currency epoch is bookended by wars. Obviously, if you are trying to take down another country's currency, one of the best ways to gang up on that currency is to try to start a war with that country. Gang, 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 gang. Any sort of war would require spending, and any sort of spending is a matter of outlasting your opponent. After all, the card game war is called war for a reason. It's about who has the highest number of cards at the end of the game. That's the winner. That is, of course, unless you're playing with your cheating younger brother that you always let win anyways because you don't want him to cry. Yes, war is the most age-old proven tactic for making your enemy spend money. And over the last 100 years, there's been a lot of it. Of course, World War II was one thing. However, between then and now, we've had the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and then, of course, the wars throughout the Middle East, and especially the wars on Christmas. It seems to me that this is a sign, and it should tell you something. War and global reserve currency status do not mix. After all, everyone wants to fight the current world heavyweight to have a shot at the belt. Isn't that right? I see y'all coming for me. Yet, in conjunction to war, there's often debasing when a currency is in its final days. For the United States, we started debasing USD during the Nixon era, when the president divorced the USD from its gold backing, and no one knew which family to spend Christmas with. No longer was it tied to gold for the first time in decades. This was when the printing presses for the paper money got started. Of course, at this time, they were nowhere near as flagrantly abusive as the M1 supply has been to the value of the dollar. But we'll get more to that in a second. Let's just call a spade a spade. Hello, spade. You're a spade. Since the USD was no longer linked to gold, Federal Reserve Board has been saying one thing for 50 years. Federal Reserve Board to U.S. citizens. We just gonna send it. That's right. We now live in an era known as Quantitative Easing, or QE, where the federal government is just printing money, baseless money, mind you, money that's not backed by any real tangible asset other than full faith of the U.S. government. And let's be honest, the global stage is losing faith in the government more and more by the minute. The USD printing party is often referred to as quantitative easing. QE is a framework and policy in which a central bank purchases financial assets and government bonds at large scale. The goal of QE is to inject money into the economy and expand economic activity. This initially started after the 2008 financial crisis and was supposed to be a temporary emergency measure. However, since the start of QE, the government has done nothing but print money, unchecked, and has outright stated they are committed to continuing to print indefinitely. But thank God, apparently, quantitative easing is over. We're now the chosen few who are fortunate enough to live past the first quantitative easing period and make it all the way to a magical period of money printing mania called, are you ready for this one? QE2, QE3, and now QE4. Yes, PrintFest 2020 is in full swing. In September of 2019, the Fed began its fourth QE session since 2008. In March of 2020, $700 billion in QE via asset purchases supported U.S. liquidity. Then in midsummer 2020, another $2 trillion in assets found their way onto the Fed's balance sheet. Simple mistake, anyone could have made it. They just, left the printer on. Right. However, QE is just a tool that serves as one part of a larger movement occurring between private companies, central banks, federal governments. Over the last 40 to 50 years, central banks have become more independent of governments. They've chosen to protect independence by proactively accommodating short-term political convenience. Where has this led us to? Our government prints and spends money recklessly. Gives a whole new definition to the word wrecked. Of course, accountability is so low that it's painful to watch. Kind of like when you're watching a crypto YouTube video and it turns into a rape behind you. Of course, though, accountability is low even when we're watching news 24/7, which should tell us something. We don't know anything. This is a problem. What will happen to the money supply if the people that it attempts to serve lose access to knowledge how it's being spent? Even the infamous chairman of the Federal Reserve, Alan Greenspan, noted that in the absence of the gold standard, there is no way to protect savings from confiscation through inflation. This dude gets it because he's profited from it. Listen to it. Post-gold, USD is a goner. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is the truth. It can usher in a new era and pull in Andreas Antonopoulos-style Brexit from a system that's been perpetuated by the global elite for decades. But what do you guys think? What's happened to America since Richard Nixon debased the currency status in the 1970s? Is there any way to regain course from the way things are heading? That's all I got. Be blessed. Good boy out.